Trading Capital's exclusive analysis. Today we're going to be discussing natural gas. So again, this is continuing to live up to its name. The Widowmaker is just bleeding lower and lower and lower. At this rate, I mean, what's going to happen, natural gas bills? Are we going to zero? Are we going negative? I mean, there's a lot of emotions in this range. My members have basically started accumulating in this low range. I know people started accumulating here. I know people started accumulating up here. I know people that bought up here. I know people that bought up here. And this has just been an absolute massacre for anybody that's been over leveraged in the natural gas chart. And I've been able to keep my members really from buying at these high prices. We've only started accumulating sub $1.95, and you can even see that it's started going lower than that. We are actually hoping that it hits our downside target. I've kind of been keeping you aware and abreast of what's unfolding in this industry, and we have been saying that don't be surprised if natural gas goes below sub $2. Don't be surprised if it breaks 170 and actually hits target around this 168, 169 zone. Now, is natural gas ever going to bounce? It certainly is going to bounce. It's almost completing a measured move of the similar nature. So if you take a measuring tool and you mark this high to this low, this was roughly a 39% decline over 43 days, almost 1% down on nat gas each day. This equated to $1.44 shaven off of the actual spot price of natural gas. If you simply mimic that same move down and drop it from this high pivot up here, and you take it down to this low target here, that's one of the main targets that I have been giving to my members. And I still think that there's a strong chance we can actually have a capitulation candle maybe over the next day or two in nat gas, where the people who accumulated here finally throw in the towel, sell, and then that's where we make a bottom. But whenever you see these measured move patterns, boom, boom, odds are natural gas is going to have a really, really big bounce to the high side. But you can still see there's a few more percentage points that I do believe natural gas will have shaven off of it if it completes this measured move pattern. So don't over leverage yourself yet. There's still potentially a little bit of downside, but for long-term investors, for swing traders, these are the areas you got to accumulate in. And there's a few interesting things that I'll observe. You are approaching this massive, massive weekly gap fill, which sits at 155. There's even a chance we can go down there. So if you're not able to weather the storm, if you're not able to even sit through from this price action, this point in time, another 11, potentially 12, 13% downside, then you have committed too much capital to this trade and you're likely exposed yourself to the market. So I've been trying to keep people at bay. I've been trying to tell you don't over leverage yourself, but we are going to get a technical bounce very, very soon. And I'm salivating at this price target because I want to add another time here. I want to continue to double my portfolio, my natural gas holdings here at this range. And if we hit this 168 target, I'm going to be doubling my natural gas position. Right now, natural gas is only a small percentage of my portfolio via the UNG. I've only had 2% of portfolio allocation. I want to take this up to 8% portfolio allocation. And what's really, really interesting about natural gas is if I flip back to the natural gas chart, we're just going to look at UNG afterwards, which is the trading vehicle that I'm using. But if you look at natural gas, I want to show you this really, really interesting parallel channel. Okay, so if you take the channel tool, the parallel channel, and you drop this high, intersect it through the low, you can see nat gas basically is kissing this zone over here. Often from my experience, natural gas likes to, and price action likes to pierce these channels to make it look like it's not holding. And then that's when you often see an intraday bullish reversal. So I'm still looking for that massive capitulation candle where you have finally a huge volume sell to the downside, and then you get that gobbled up bullish reversal, almost like you see I'll actually draw it here on the chart once I get my tool out. If I can find my drawing tool, there it is. So I think what we're going to see is maybe a final capitulation candle down and then a V-shaped recovery intraday. So this is going to not only provide a massive opportunity to those savvy day traders, but it's also going to provide likely a really, really good, amazing opportunity to keep increasing your position on the long side. Now, This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to double down your position because I don't know how much you're at. But if you look at this UNG chart, there's still a potential on UNG that it can go lower. I mean, we are seeing massive volume in this range. So we are starting to see the near-term signs of mass capitulation. So I'm loving the fact that you're seeing a heavy volume capitulation at the lows here. People are throwing in the towel, and this is going to provide a stellar bounce once it does occur. But there's a big level on UNG that I'm watching. Basically, it's this 1439 zone on UNG. You can see this pivot to pivot, pivot. And if we get into this zone, I will be absolutely doubling my position and then some on the natural gas stock. So volume is increasing, which is actually what you want to see at a local low bottom. What you also want to see is natural gas stocks starting to lead the price action. So despite natural gas finishing down in the session, you have a company like AR, which was actually up 1.7% today in a weak market. So I find that super interesting to see that you're now starting to see the speculation money coming into these natural gas stocks. Another name like EQT, positive, up today nicely, 1.75% in a weak market. So this is typically what happens when you're forming a near-term low in an underlying commodity. You want to see the natural gas stocks like EQT, like AR, like LNG start to lead the price action of natural gas. But again, this trade is not for the faint of heart. Even though we're super oversold, you're now entering a daily chart RSI that's very oversold. You're putting in that positive divergence as well. This should bounce, but this has a tendency, again, to over leverage people. And that's what I think we're seeing here. We're seeing a local bottom, a big capitulation bottom being made in natural gas. And it's going to be an epic level once this does bounce. Now, upside targets when this does bounce, I think we can actually get, if we satisfy this 168, 169 level, I think we can get a bounce all the way back up to this 224. So if we use the measured move pattern down, if you look at this big bounce, I mean, simply speaking, this bounce over here was roughly a 88 cent, a 40% bounce, give or take. And if we were to replicate that same move, that puts you basically almost back to the high end of this channel, which could be about a 52% bounce, from this current level. That would be a stellar gain if natural gas is to bounce. And I certainly think that's well within the realm of possibility. I still have an upside target around the later half of this year for natural gas to be hitting $3.50 and likely even a $4 target. Yes, you did hear it here. I have an upside target on natural gas of around $4 by the end of the year, which implies more than a double in the price action. So stay tuned for more analysis. Hopefully this video helps. If you're interested in how I'm trading it, check out my tradingcapital.ca swing trading and day trading service, where I will be sure to do my level best and keep you safe from this trade. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you on the charts a bit later.